Throne and Liberty just released some huge updates coming in the newest patches, which include huge PvP changes on castle sieges, mega alliances, PvP quality of life changes, PV dungeon changes, and more. If you like PvP, you should stay tuned because you're going to enjoy these changes. Let's first start with the biggest event in the game, which is the Castle Siege. So there is this bug on the Lucent distribution in Throne and Liberty with the castle pillages. And if you're one of the guilds that captured a pillage and didn't get a proper distribution on the Lucent, don't worry because the developers are already working on fixing it. They also mentioned that some guilds couldn't capture the pillage zone, and I wasn't really aware of this problem because I was one of the defenders, but rest assured because the developers have also noticed that. They also explained why they decided to just raise awareness on the Castle Siege exploit where attackers could easily get into the throne room from going up the walls of the castle and using a summon stone to summon all of their alliance to the throne room. They explained that due to the cross-platform deadline, either fixing the issue or delaying the siege would have required them to release an untested build risking problems for all players. They think that giving awareness to the players is the least evil of all their choices. This exploit hugely impacted the Castle Siege, but other than that, the Castle Siege was extremely fun in my opinion. Rest assured because the developers already have a fix for this, and the update is going to be before the next Castle Siege, so if you're a defender that got ratted through exploit, this is the time to rally up your alliance and take back the throne. Speaking of alliances, they now have a somewhat of a fix for mega alliances where they use the hostile system to form more alliances than intended. They plan to fix this by completely removing the hostile system from the guild, which is used by mega alliances to identify the players that are not in their proper alliances, because they could just kill the white names and avoid the red names. This update will come this December. I think that this is the most that they could do at the present because it is extremely hard to fix this without affecting the guilds that are not abusing the system. More Castle Siege update. Most people have raised awareness about the 30-second timer before getting into combat in the conflict zone, and they plan on lowering this but didn't mention specifically how much. My guess and what I probably think is best is that just around 3 seconds after the pop-up of "You're inside the conflict zone" is removed. You should already be ready to PvP, but sadly this change is not coming on the next Castle Siege. Moving away from Castle Siege, there is an update on crowd controls where your CC immunity gauge would build up much faster so that it would reduce the times when you feel like you're not able to play the game because of CC after CC going out your way. They will also have a change on the Purification Stone where you will be able to choose an additional buff effect from it. But they didn't specifically mention what kind. Conflict bosses are changing soon. They plan on changing how loot is distributed on conflict bosses, where the guild or group that actually had the most contribution to the boss damage would get rewarded. War Games update. War Games is going to come on December 5th on the next update where players can have large-scale PvP fights with other players without needing to join a guild but rather just joining through the custom lobby. This would also add a private server for this game mode for guilds to practice their PvP. In War Games, you can choose which Riftstone or Boonstone you want to fight in through the custom lobby. Other settings are included such as how much teams are fighting for the stones. I think that they also mentioned in their previous news about War Games where, while inside the game mode, the kill ranking won't be affected because you could just farm in the War Games lobby to eventually get the Eclipse, which is an extremely powerful skill that could change the tide of the open world PvP. Also, an important thing to mention is that at the release of War Games, there won't be any rewards because they want to get the feedback of the players first and then actively change it to the player base liking and add rewards right after. Next is a big update for Conquest Battle starting time. Conquest Battle, or Riftstone and Boonstone Fight, is going to be adjusted by the developers for a later time because of the majority of the players asking for them to do so. Now, this is good and all for the other servers, but in my opinion, if these changes came to the SEA server, this would hugely affect the game negatively because there are a lot of OCE players on the Japanese server playing because they don't have their own server. This would basically kill the event for them because the 6 p.m. Conquest Battle for their time is already at around 9 p.m. for them. So adjusting this to say 11 to 12 p.m. on the OCE time zone would just kill the game for them on the weekdays because people have work that they cannot miss on. Moving away from PvP updates, we have our dungeon matchmaking update. Since random matchmaking does not feel so random because players are just rejecting and requeuing whenever they get the dungeon that they don't like, the developers have noticed this. That's why they're adding penalties for excessively rejecting or leaving early in the dungeons. Our next update is about bad actors or bots. They said that they're doing a good job immediately identifying the bots in the server, but it is a continuous battle. I'm not really sure about this because I see a lot of bots in the Pure Light Tower party together farming, but maybe I'm just being paranoid. The next update is about RMT, or real money trading. RMT is basically those bots that email you about cheap lucents. I know it's enticing, but there is a heavy punishment for buying on those websites, such as getting punished by giving you negative lucents and restricting you from buying and selling on the auction house. You are also not going to get guild loots while you're on negative balance. Archbosses update. They're adding more portals in the Peace Archbosses just like what they did for the World Bosses, where they added new portals depending on the numbers that are in the area. This is an extremely good update because the whole server being inside only 2 portals is causing huge problems for the players because of how laggy the portals could become, which could cause disconnection and ultimately remove your chances of getting an Archboss loot. I don't know if it's coming this week for the Queen Belendir event, but regardless, this is a huge update. Dimensional Trials update. So if you don't know, Dimensional Trials are going to be the bosses from 2-star co-op dungeons, but stronger, and would have leaderboards for the fastest clear with rewards. This could be done infinitely and still get rewards to show love to our PvE players in the game. Future updates. They're looking to improve the combat and movement in the game because they have noticed our feedback. For me personally, as a staff user, I hope that they remove this bug where whenever you cast a fireball and the enemy that you're casting it on either died or went invisible, you'll get this bug where it will keep on charging for at least 10 seconds without you being able to do anything about it. This absolutely ruins the experience on large-scale PvPs where every second counts. Also, they should add this system where if the fireball is already out of range but you've already charged it, you should be able to release it with no problem for the fluidity of the game. Updates about skill use. We are now going to have skill presets in December so that players could easily switch from one skill set to another quickly. For our PlayStation players, they're going to be adding keyboard and mouse options for their version of the game. This is a really good update for our PlayStation gamers because I've noticed how people meme on them so much, saying that whenever you fail a mechanic at a dungeon, they would ask if you're a PlayStation player, so it is nice for them to be in the same playing field as keyboard and mouse players after the update. That is it for the recent developers update. I actually like that they're constantly keeping in touch with the community and also listening to what the player base wants to see in their game. Maybe there's a slim chance that they might see this video, so leave a comment of what you want to see in the next updates of Throne and Liberty. Personally, like I said a while ago, I would want them to finally fix the charged fireball bomb. What about you? Tell me in the comments. With that, see you in the next video.